The perfect evening. The crystal chandelier sparkled above Isabella Chen's head like 1,000 tiny stars. She smoothed down her emerald green dress and smiled at the crowd gathering in the grand ballroom. Tonight was supposed to be perfect. Sterling Architecture was celebrating its biggest year ever, and Isabella had designed 3 of their most praised buildings. "You look stunning, darling," Marcus Sterling whispered in her ear, his hand warm on her lower back. His blue eyes sparkled with the same confidence that had made her fall in love with him 2 years ago. "Tonight, everyone will know how talented you are." Isabella's heart soared. Marcus had promised to announce her promotion to senior architect in front of all the important guests. After 5 years of hard work, countless late nights, and sacrificing time with her family, this moment would make it all worthwhile. "I can't believe this is really happening," she said, squeezing his hand. "Thank you for believing in me." Marcus kissed her cheek. "You earned every bit of it. Now I need to go greet the mayor. Victoria is over there by the bar if you want to catch up." Isabella watched Marcus walk away, his expensive suit fitting him perfectly. Then she spotted her best friend Victoria Hayes across the room. Victoria waved, her red dress catching the light. They had been friends since college, and Victoria had helped Isabella get the job at Sterling Architecture in the first place. ## cracks in the foundation. "Bella." Victoria hugged her tightly. "Tonight's your big night. I'm so excited for you." "I'm so nervous," Isabella admitted. "What if I mess up my speech?" "You won't," Victoria assured her. But something was different about Victoria's smile. It didn't quite reach her eyes. "Listen, I need to tell you something. Ladies and gentlemen." Marcus's voice boomed through the microphone. "Thank you all for coming tonight." Victoria's words were forgotten as everyone turned toward the stage. Isabella's pulse quickened. This was it. Her moment. "Tonight we celebrate an incredible year for Sterling Architecture," Marcus continued. "And it's all thanks to one person's brilliant designs. Someone who has transformed our company's vision and brought us international recognition." Isabella's cheeks flushed. People nearby were already looking at her and smiling. "Please join me in congratulating our new senior architect and the creative genius behind the Riverside Complex, the Harbor Tower, and the Cultural Center." Marcus paused for dramatic effect. "Victoria Hayes." The world stopped spinning. Isabella felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. The applause around her sounded distant, muffled, as if she were underwater. Victoria squeezed her arm and whispered, "I tried to tell you. I'm sorry." But Victoria didn't look sorry. She looked triumphant as she walked to the stage, accepting a bouquet of roses and shaking Marcus's hand. The hand that had held Isabella's just minutes ago. ## the truth unveiled. Isabella couldn't breathe. Those were her designs. She had spent months on the Riverside Complex alone, working until midnight, sacrificing weekends. The Harbor Tower had been her dream project since graduate school. Every line, every angle, every window placement had been carefully chosen by her. She pushed through the crowd, ignoring congratulations aimed at Victoria. She needed air. She needed answers. She burst through the ballroom doors into the hallway, her heels clicking frantically on the marble floor. "Isabella, wait." Victoria's voice called behind her. "How could you?" Isabella spun around, tears burning her eyes. "Those were my designs. My projects. You know that." Victoria's mask slipped. The fake sympathy disappeared, replaced by cold ambition. "Were they though? According to all the files, I designed them. Marcus and I made sure of that months ago." "Marcus?" The betrayal cut deeper. "Marcus knows." "Oh honey." Victoria's laugh was cruel. "Marcus and I have been together for over a year. Did you really think a man like him would end up with someone like you? You were useful. Your talent was useful. But let's be honest, you're not exactly CEO wife material." Isabella's legs felt weak. "You're lying. Marcus loves me. He told me. He told you what you needed to hear to keep working." Victoria examined her perfect red nails. "All those late nights you thought you were working alone? We were together in his office. Every promotion he promised you? A lie to keep you producing designs we could use." "I'll tell everyone the truth," Isabella said, her voice shaking. "I have my original sketches, my notes." "Actually, you don't." Victoria pulled out her phone and showed Isabella a video. It was Isabella's office, and someone was going through her files, taking papers, deleting files from her computer. That someone was Victoria. This was last Tuesday when you went to visit your mother. We have everything now. Your computer will show Victoria Hayes as the creator of all those design files. Your sketches are gone. And if you try to fight this... Victoria leaned in close. Marcus has prepared something special for you. Tomorrow morning, the police will discover that someone has been stealing money from company accounts. Guess whose name is on those transactions? ## the fall. The next morning, Isabella arrived at work to find police officers waiting at her desk. Her co-workers whispered and stared as officers went through her files. Marcus stood nearby, looking concerned and disappointed. A perfect act. I don't understand, Isabella said, her voice breaking. I didn't do anything wrong. The lead detective held up printouts. Miss Chun, we have evidence showing transfers from company accounts to an offshore account in your name. Over $200,000 in the past 6 months. That's impossible. I don't have an offshore account. But the evidence was there. Bank statements with her forged signature. Email communications that looked like they came from her. Security footage edited to show her alone in the office at times money was transferred. Marcus and Victoria had been thorough. I'm afraid we need you to come with us, the detective said, pulling out handcuffs. The walk through the office in handcuffs was the longest of Isabella's life. People she'd worked with for 5 years looked at her like she was a stranger. Like she was a thief. Her desk was already being cleared. Marcus caught her eye as they passed. For just a second his mask slipped. He smiled. A cold, satisfied smile that told her everything she needed to know. This had been planned from the beginning. ## broken and alone. The legal battle drained every penny Isabella had saved. The evidence against her was too perfect, too complete. Her lawyer said fighting it would cost more than she'd ever have. In the end, she took a plea deal to avoid prison time. 3 years probation, community service, and a permanent mark on her record. Her family believed the news reports. Her father, always so proud of her success, wouldn't take her calls. Her mother cried and asked where they went wrong raising her. Friends from college disappeared. Professional contacts blocked her emails. Isabella moved from her nice apartment to a tiny studio in the worst part of town. Her architecture license was suspended. Her savings were gone. She couldn't get a job in her field. Who would hire someone convicted of embezzlement? She took a job washing dishes at a small diner. Then waiting tables. The owner, Mrs. Chun, no relation, was the only person who didn't treat her like a criminal. The work was hard, the pay was terrible, and every day Isabella felt herself disappearing. The confident, talented architect was gone, replaced by someone who kept her head down and tried not to think about what she'd lost. 3 years passed like a slow death. Isabella saw Marcus and Victoria's wedding announcement in the business section of the newspaper. Victoria was now chief design officer at Sterling Architecture. Marcus's company had expanded internationally. They'd stolen her life and were living it. ## a chance encounter. It was a Tuesday afternoon when everything changed. The diner was mostly empty. Just a few regulars and a man in an expensive suit Isabella had never seen before. He sat in her section, working on his laptop while nursing black coffee. Can I get you anything else? Isabella asked, trying to sound cheerful. The man looked up and Isabella froze. His eyes were sharp and intelligent, studying her face carefully. He was handsome in a dangerous way, dark hair, strong jaw, and eyes that seemed to see everything. You're Isabella Chun, he said. It wasn't a question. Isabella's hand shook. Had Marcus sent someone to threaten her? Make sure she stayed quiet? I don't want any trouble, she said quietly. I'm not here to cause trouble, Miss Chun. I'm here to offer you something. He pulled out a business card. My name is Adrian Blackwood, and I think it's time you got your life back. Isabella stared at the card. Blackwood Industries. She'd heard that name before. A powerful investment company that had recently started buying up architecture firms. Why would you help me? She asked suspiciously. Adrian's smile was cold. Because Marcus Sterling's father destroyed my father's business 20 years ago, using the same tactics Marcus used on you. I've spent 20 years building my power. waiting for the right moment to return the favor. He leaned forward. You want revenge, Miss Chen? So do I. And together we can take everything from Marcus Sterling. Everything he stole from you and more. Isabella's heart pounded. Revenge. The word tasted sweet and dangerous. What do you want from me? Your talent. Your knowledge of Sterling architecture. And your desire to make things right. Adrian opened a folder and slid it across the table. Inside were photographs, documents, proof that her designs had been stolen. Proof she'd been framed. I've been gathering evidence for years. But I need someone on the inside. Someone with motivation. Why didn't you help me 3 years ago? Isabella demanded. Because 3 years ago you were still soft. Still believed in justice and fairness and playing by the rules. Adrian's eyes were hard. Now you know the truth. The world isn't fair. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. Isabella looked down at the evidence in the folder. Her beautiful designs with Victoria's name on them. Marcus's signature approving her framing. Emails between Marcus and Victoria laughing about how easy it had been to fool her. Something inside Isabella cracked. The last piece of the innocent girl she'd been fell away. In its place grew something harder, sharper, more focused. What do I need to do? She asked. Adrian smiled. First we transform you. New identity, new look, new skills. You won't be Isabella Chun anymore. You'll be someone Marcus Sterling would never recognize but can't resist. He pulled out another set of documents. Isabelle Laurent, award-winning international design consultant, educated in Paris, worked on projects across Europe. I've already built your background, your reputation, your portfolio using your real designs attributed to fake names. And then we make Marcus Sterling beg for your talent while we destroy everything he built. His company, his reputation, his marriage, his freedom. Adrian's voice was ice cold. We'll give him a taste of what it feels like to lose everything. Just like he did to you. Isabella thought about the last 3 years. The humiliation. The loneliness. The loss of her dreams. She thought about Marcus's smile as they'd led her away in handcuffs. Victoria's cruel laugh. Her family's disappointment. When do we start? She asked. Adrian stood and extended his hand. Right now. Say goodbye to Isabella Chun. She died 3 years ago. Isabelle Laurent is about to be born. As Isabella shook his hand, she felt the last of her innocence burn away. She wasn't the naive girl who believed in love and fairness anymore. She was something new. Something dangerous. Marcus Sterling had created a monster. And now that monster was coming for him. The revenge was just beginning. Part 2. The rise and the plan. The transformation. 6 months had passed since Isabella Chun walked out of that diner with Adrian Blackwood. 6 months that had changed everything. She stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling mirror in Adrian's penthouse, barely recognizing the woman staring back at her. Gone was the mousy brown hair pulled into a practical ponytail. In its place, sleek chestnut waves with golden highlights cascaded past her shoulders. Her wardrobe had transformed from cheap uniform polyester to designer silk and tailored perfection. But the biggest change wasn't external. Your posture has improved, Adrian noted, entering the room with 2 glasses of wine. You walk like someone who owns the world now. Isabella, no Isabelle Laurent, accepted the glass with a graceful nod. Even her movements had changed. Adrian had hired the best coaches money could buy. Speech coaches to refine her accent with a hint of French sophistication. Business coaches to teach her negotiation and corporate warfare. Even a psychologist to help her become someone else entirely. I barely remember who I was before, Isabelle said, her voice carrying that carefully cultivated European accent. Good. Adrian's expression was unreadable. Isabella Chun was a victim. Isabelle Laurent is a predator. Never forget which one survives. Over the past 6 months, Adrian had revealed more of his story. His father, James Blackwood, had been Marcus's father's business partner 30 years ago. Charles Sterling had used the same playbook on James that Marcus had used on Isabella. Stolen ideas, forged documents, ruined reputation. James had died of a heart attack during the trial, leaving young Adrian with nothing but debt and a burning need for justice. The Riverside Complex Designs, Adrian said, pulling out a tablet. I've had my team create a full digital portfolio of your original work under the Isabelle Laurent name. These designs were supposedly completed for a development firm in Monaco 2 years ago. Isabelle studied the portfolio. Her designs, her vision, but with different buildings, different locations, different contexts. It was brilliant. Marcus will never make the connection. That's the point. Adrian swiped to another screen. Your fake background is flawless. Educated at École des Beaux-Arts in Paris, worked with 3 major European firms, won 2 international design awards under a pseudonym, and you're notoriously private. No social media, rare photographs, exclusive clientele only. And the awards? Isabelle asked. Adrian smiled. Real awards for real designs, your designs. I had associates submit them anonymously to international competitions. You won them legitimately. Every piece of Isabelle Laurent's reputation is built on your actual talent, just repackaged. Isabelle felt something stir in her chest. Pride. For the first time in 3 years, someone was acknowledging her real abilities. When do we approach sterling architecture? Patience. Adrian set down his tablet. First, we establish Isabelle Laurent as the most sought-after designer in the industry. We make Marcus come to us, desperate and begging. That's when revenge tastes sweetest. ## building the legend. The next 3 months were a whirlwind of carefully orchestrated success. Adrian's connections opened doors across the industry. Isabelle consulted on a luxury hotel in Dubai, a museum in Singapore, and a residential tower in London. Each project was real, each was successful, and each added to her growing reputation. The architecture world buzzed with excitement about the mysterious Isabelle Laurent. Who was this woman who appeared from nowhere with such extraordinary talent? Magazine interviews were carefully controlled. Photograph her from behind or in artistic shadows, keep details vague, maintain the mystery. Marcus has noticed, Adrian reported one evening, showing Isabelle an industry newsletter. There was a small article about sterling architecture's recent struggles. 2 major projects had gone over budget, and another had been criticized for uninspired design. Victoria isn't as talented as he thought? Isabelle asked sweetly. Victoria is a competent architect, but she's not you. She can copy but can't innovate. Adrian pulled up another document. Their stock price has dropped 12% in the past quarter. Marcus is under pressure from the board to deliver something spectacular. And that's where I come in? Almost. There's one more piece we need in place. Adrian's expression grew serious. We need someone inside sterling architecture. Someone who can feed us information, help us plant evidence when the time comes. Who did you have in mind? David Park. Remember him? Isabelle did remember. David had been a junior architect when she worked there. Kind, honest, and one of the few people who hadn't immediately believed she was guilty. He testified at my hearing that I wasn't the type of person to steal. Which cost him a promotion and Marcus's trust, Adrian confirmed. He's still at Sterling Architecture, but he's been stuck in the same position for 3 years. Marcus keeps him around but never gives him real opportunities. You think he'll help us? I think he wants justice as much as we do. And I think he's been gathering his own evidence, waiting for someone brave enough to use it. 2 days later, Isabelle met David Park at a quiet cafe far from Sterling Architecture's offices. He'd aged in 3 years, more gray in his hair, more lines around his eyes. When he saw her, his eyes widened with recognition despite her transformation. Isabella, he whispered. Isabelle Laurent, she corrected gently. Isabella Chun is dead. But I need to know, David, do you still believe I was innocent? David leaned forward, intensity burning in his eyes. I never stopped believing. Marcus and Victoria destroyed you, and I've watched them do it to others since then. Smaller scale but the same pattern. Steal credit, eliminate threats, consolidate power. What if I told you I could stop them? What if I told you I could expose everything they've done and return stolen credit to the people who deserve it? I'd ask what took you so long. David pulled out a flash drive. I've been documenting everything for 3 years. Every stolen design, every forged document, every shady deal. I didn't know what to do with it until now. Isabelle felt tears prick her eyes. Real tears for the first time in months. Someone had believed in her. Someone had been fighting for justice even when she couldn't. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me yet," David said grimly. "Taking down Marcus won't be easy. He's gotten more paranoid, more careful. And Victoria." He shook his head. "She's worse than him in some ways. More ruthless." "Good." Isabel's voice hardened. "I'm counting on their arrogance. Now, tell me everything about Sterling Architecture's current situation. #the perfect storm." Marcus Sterling stood in his corner office, staring at the city skyline with growing frustration. The Nexus Tower project was supposed to be his masterpiece, the building that would cement his legacy as a visionary architect. Instead, it was a disaster. "The designs are uninspired," the client had said yesterday. "We expected something revolutionary from Sterling Architecture. This is just another glass tower." Victoria had been in the meeting, her face flushed with embarrassment. After they left, she blamed the engineering team, the client's impossible standards, the economy. Everyone but herself. "We need something spectacular," Marcus muttered to himself. "Something that reminds people why Sterling Architecture is the best." His assistant knocked on the door. "Mr. Sterling? The board meeting is in 10 minutes. The board meeting. Marcus dreaded it. They'd been questioning his leadership, his vision, his ability to deliver results. Some were even suggesting they needed new creative direction. The audacity of it infuriated him. This was his company, built on his father's legacy and his own strategic genius. What the board didn't understand was that genius wasn't just about talent. It was about knowing how to acquire and use resources. That's what he'd done with Isabella Chun. She'd been a resource, nothing more. Her designs had served their purpose. He just needed to find another resource like her. "Mr. Sterling?" His assistant interrupted his thoughts. "There's an email here from the International Design Conference. They're announcing this year's keynote speaker, Isabelle Laurent." Marcus frowned. "Who?" "She's apparently a very exclusive designer. Works mostly in Europe and Asia." The email says Sterling Architecture received an invitation to her portfolio presentation next month. Very limited seating. Marcus opened the email and studied the attached portfolio. His breath caught. These designs were extraordinary. Innovative yet practical, beautiful yet functional. Exactly what the Nexus Tower needed. "Get me everything you can find on Isabelle Laurent," Marcus ordered. "And confirm our attendance at that presentation. #the trap is set." The portfolio presentation was held at the most exclusive gallery in the city. Adrian had spared no expense. Champagne flowed freely, elegant catering, live classical music. The attendees were a carefully curated mix of wealthy potential clients, influential architects, and industry journalists. And Marcus Sterling, standing near the front with Victoria beside him. Isabel watched them from backstage, her heart pounding with anticipation and something darker. 3 years of planning, 6 months of transformation, and countless hours of preparation had led to this moment. "Ready?" Adrian asked beside her. "More than ready." She stepped onto the small stage and the room fell silent. Isabelle Laurent commanded attention without trying, the result of months of coaching and her own natural confidence finally unleashed. Marcus's expression showed polite interest. No recognition. He had no idea he was staring at the woman whose life he'd destroyed. "Good evening," Isabel began, her accent perfect. "Thank you for joining me tonight. I don't often do presentations like this, as I prefer to let my work speak for itself. But I've been encouraged to share my philosophy on architectural design." For the next 30 minutes, Isabel presented her vision, her real vision, the one she'd never been allowed to fully express at Sterling Architecture. She talked about buildings that served communities, designs that honored both form and function, architecture that told stories. She showed renderings of her European projects, each one genuinely brilliant. The audience was captivated. Journalists took notes. Potential clients looked eager. And Marcus Sterling's expression had shifted from polite interest to intense focus. "Miss Laurent," Marcus approached after the presentation ended, Victoria trailing behind him. "That was extraordinary. I'm Marcus Sterling of Sterling Architecture." "I know who you are, Mr. Sterling," Isabel said coolly, shaking his hand. His touch made her skin crawl, but she maintained her composure. Your firm has quite the reputation. I'd love to discuss a potential collaboration, Marcus said. His charm turned up to maximum. We have a project that would be perfect for someone with your vision. I'm very selective about my collaborations. Isabel let her gaze drift over Victoria dismissively. Who would be my primary contact at your firm? Victoria Hayes, our Chief Design Officer. Marcus introduced her proudly. Victoria extended her hand, her smile tight. Isabel could see the jealousy already forming. Good. Ms. Laurent, your work is impressive. Where did you say you trained? École des Beaux-Arts in Paris, Isabel replied smoothly. Though I believe true design comes from vision and experience, not just education. It was a subtle dig. Victoria's own education had been from a decent but unremarkable American university. The barb hit its mark. Victoria's smile became even more strained. Perhaps we could have dinner tomorrow night? Marcus suggested. Discuss the project in detail? I'm afraid my schedule is quite full, Isabel said, already turning away. My assistant will be in touch if I decide sterling architecture aligns with my standards. She walked away, leaving Marcus staring after her with an expression she recognized all too well, the look of someone who wanted something they couldn't easily have. It was the same look he'd had when he first pursued her 3 years ago, when she was still Isabella Chun, still naive enough to believe his lies. She's playing hard to get, Victoria hissed to Marcus. We don't need her. Yes, we do, Marcus replied firmly. Did you see those designs? That's exactly what we need for Nexus Tower. Find out everything about her. I want her working for us. From across the room, Isabel caught Adrian's eye. He raised his glass in a subtle toast. Phase 1 was complete. Marcus Sterling was hooked. Now came the real fun. ## the seduction of power. Over the next 2 weeks, Isabel made Marcus work for her attention. She declined 3 dinner invitations, was unavailable for 2 conference calls, and had her assistant send polite but dismissive responses to his increasingly desperate messages. He's getting obsessed, David Park reported during a secret meeting. He talks about you constantly. Victoria is furious. She sees you as a threat. Good, Isabel said. Let them turn on each other. That's part of the plan. Finally, she agreed to meet Marcus for lunch at an exclusive restaurant. She arrived 15 minutes late, looking absolutely stunning in a white designer suit. Marcus stood immediately when he saw her, and Isabel didn't miss the way his eyes lingered on her. Miss Laurent, thank you for finally agreeing to meet, Marcus said, pulling out her chair. Your persistence was impressive, Mr. Sterling, Isabel replied. Though I must admit, I've been researching your firm. Your recent projects have been adequate. The word adequate hit Marcus like a slap. We've had some challenges, but Sterling Architecture is still an industry leader. Led by inherited reputation rather than current innovation, Isabel said bluntly. Your father built something remarkable. You've been coasting on his legacy. Marcus's jaw tightened. That's quite an assessment from someone who knows very little about us. I know enough. Isabel sipped her wine. I know your stock price is falling. I know your last 3 projects failed to generate the buzz you expected. I know your board is questioning your leadership. She leaned forward. I know you need me far more than I need you. The power dynamic shift was palpable. Marcus had been used to being the one in control, the one who held all the cards. Now he was sitting across from someone who saw through him completely. What would it take to work with us? Marcus asked, his charm replaced by genuine desperation. Complete creative control, Isabel stated. I designed the Nexus Tower my way. No interference from your chief design officer or anyone else. My name on the project, full credit, and triple your normal consulting fee. That's... Marcus started to protest. Non-negotiable, Isabel interrupted. You can accept my terms, or you can continue watching your company decline. Your choice, Mr. Sterling. Marcus studied her for a long moment. Isabel held his gaze, letting him see the steel beneath her elegant exterior. Finally, he nodded. Agreed. When can you start? I'll need full access to your facilities, all project files, and an office separate from your regular staff, Isabel said. And I work with my own team, people I trust. Of course. Anything you need. As Isabel left the restaurant an hour later, she felt satisfaction wash over her. She was inside Sterling Architecture. The company that had destroyed her now welcomed her with open arms, desperate for her talent. "How does it feel?" Adrian asked when she called him from the car. "Like the beginning of the end for Marcus Sterling," Isabel replied. "I start Monday. Make sure David has all the access codes ready. It's time to start digging up every dirty secret buried in that company." "And Victoria?" Isabel smiled coldly. "Victoria is about to learn what it feels like to be replaced. ## inside the enemy's walls." Isabel's first day at Sterling Architecture was carefully orchestrated. She arrived in a chauffeur-driven car, dressed in power and confidence. Employees stared as she was escorted to an executive office. Not just any office, but one on the same floor as Marcus and Victoria. Victoria was waiting outside Isabel's new office, her smile as fake as plastic flowers. "Welcome to Sterling Architecture, Miss Laurent. I thought we could have coffee, discuss how we'll be working together." "I work alone, Miss Hayes," Isabel said coolly, "as specified in my contract. But thank you for the offer." Victoria's smile cracked. "I'm the Chief Design Officer. Surely you don't expect to operate without any oversight." "I expect to do the job you're incapable of doing," Isabel interrupted sweetly. "Now if you'll excuse me, I have work to do." She closed the office door in Victoria's face and allowed herself a brief smile. Round 1 to Isabel. Over the next few weeks, Isabel embedded herself deep in Sterling Architecture. She worked long hours, creating genuinely brilliant designs for the Nexus Tower. But she also did something else. She paid attention. She noticed which employees were unhappy, who had been overlooked for promotions, who harbored resentment toward Marcus and Victoria. She learned the company's rhythms, its secrets, its vulnerabilities. David Park became her eyes and ears, feeding her information about internal politics and hidden problems. Together with Adrian's external resources, they began building a comprehensive case against Marcus and Victoria. "I found something interesting," David said during one of their secret meetings. "Marcus has been using company funds for personal expenses, expensive gifts for Victoria, trips disguised as business travel, even a beach house purchased through a shell company." "That's embezzlement," Isabel noted. "Just like he accused you of," David confirmed. "Poetic, isn't it?" They also discovered Victoria's schemes, designs she'd stolen from junior architects, projects where she'd taken credit for team efforts, and evidence of her relationship with Marcus starting while he was still with Isabella. "We have enough to destroy them both," Adrian said during a strategy session. "When do you want to strike?" "Not yet," Isabel replied. "First, I want them to trust me completely. I want Marcus to believe I might be falling for him. I want Victoria so jealous she makes mistakes. I want the entire company to see how brilliant Isabel Laurent is compared to their fraudulent leaders." "You're playing a dangerous game," Adrian warned. "Getting close to Marcus again." "I'm not getting close to him," Isabel corrected. "I'm studying my enemy. There's a difference." But Adrian's warning nagged at her. Because Marcus was trying to get close to her. The way he looked at her, the way he found excuses to visit her office, the subtle flirtation in his emails, it was all too familiar. He was using the same tactics he'd used on Isabella Chan. The difference was Isabel Laurent knew exactly what he was doing, and she was going to use it against him. The trap was almost ready to spring. All she needed was the perfect moment, the perfect audience, and the perfect revenge. Marcus Sterling had destroyed Isabella Chen's life in a single night at a gala. It seemed fitting that Isabel Laurent would destroy his life the same way. Part 3. The Reckoning and Redemption. The Perfect Project. 3 months after Isabel Laurent joined Sterling Architecture, the Nexus Tower project was ready to present to the board and potential investors. Marcus had spared no expense on the presentation gala. Another glittering ballroom, another crowd of important people, another night that would change everything. But this time Isabel was in control. She stood in her hotel room, preparing for the evening. Her dress was stunning midnight blue silk that made her look like royalty. Her hair was perfect, her makeup flawless. She looked nothing like the broken woman who'd been dragged out in handcuffs 3 years ago. "Tonight's the night," Adrian said from the sitting room. "Are you ready?" I've been ready for 3 years, Isabel replied. Is everything in place? David has loaded all the evidence onto the presentation system. The journalists have been briefed. They know something big is coming. The board members have received anonymous packages with preview documents. And I've ensured several lawyers and detectives will be in attendance. Adrian paused. Once you start this, there's no going back. I don't want to go back. Isabel turned to face him. Isabella Chun was weak. She believed in fairness and justice. That woman died in this city 3 years ago. Tonight, Marcus Sterling learns what it's like to lose everything. Adrian's expression was unreadable. Just remember, revenge has a price. I'll pay it gladly. They arrived at the gala separately. Isabel made a grand entrance, every eye turning to watch her glide through the ballroom.